So we're here in downtown Baltimore. The Real News Network is teaming up with Belly of the Beast, and we are just days away from the U.S. presidential elections. And right now, the polls are showing that the race between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump is incredibly close. And, you know, Liz, at the center of Donald Trump's campaign, everything has been driven by fear and lies about an immigrant invasion into the U.S. and promises to mass deport undocumented people if Trump's elected.
Who ends up becoming the next president of the United States is not only going to affect the life of the migrant community here in Baltimore in the US, but also can affect the life of people like mine in Cuba. The US media outlets talk a lot about migration, a migration crisis and wave in the United States, but they never mention how US policy causes.
When the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed here in Baltimore back in March, I mean, 6 immigrant construction workers who were working on the bridge at the time lost their lives. And, you know, Liz, it was like for a brief moment, the invisible lives and struggles and, frankly, the humanity of our immigrant community here became temporarily visible to the rest of the country. But then that all quickly went away. And since then, it's just been nonstop xenophobic, anti-immigrant rhetoric coming from Donald Trump, his campaign, and from right-wing media. It's endless.
They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done. They're pouring into our country. Nobody's even looking at them. They just come in. The crime is going to be tremendous. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets.
I think for my community, we are receiving so many attacks from one candidate and his people. So that makes me very anxious about what will be next. And also, I know there are so many possibilities that this person can win. When you have somebody who is saying things like all the immigrants are bad people or people, but let's be clear, it's not all the immigrants, it's only immigrants of color or immigrants from Central America, people who Trump say they are very bad hombres or very bad people, but that's not true. So I can definitely feel in some parts of the country, people who is look at me like weird, or sometimes people say bad things like, oh, these people is eating animals, you know, and that's something that you feel bad about it, you know, because they don't know you, but for some reasons they believe you are a bad person. So
everybody says, why the United States have to keep these people here? Why? Because at the beginning of this country, we've been told that this country is free, and that's why we come here. We're looking for freedom. We're looking for better life. We are looking for also to make this country better. We pay taxes. We do a lot of things. We work very hard. And as you can see right now, the Key Bridge here in Baltimore, it was a huge impact. Nobody knows that immigrant was working there. That's a shame. Latino or immigrants work for the worst jobs here in this country. So we deserve a better thing. We deserve a better life.
I know when you make the news, when something terrible happened to the people who actually love, that's the thing happened with Cuba. What do you know about Cuba? What do you see in news about Cuba? It's always something negative when something terrible happened in my country, or it's a new trending coming. But that's the main reason why I'm here today, because I know how U.S. policy impacts the people in Cuba, my country, but I also want to understand and know how these elections is going to impact the life of people in Baltimore.
We all work together as immigrants, so we can work together with the Haitian community and with the Nepali community, and we have more in common than indifference. Baltimore, especially Baltimore City, doesn't have anti-immigrant policies per se, not as scary as the ones in Florida. In Florida, you can get stopped just because you look like me, right? And that's just suspicion enough. So Florida and other states have a lot of anti-immigrant policies, and there's a danger that that might grow. So then people want to come over here, but it's very difficult because housing is very limited, jobs are very limited. So, for example, during the pandemic, everybody got to stay home. A lot of them didn't qualify for food stamps or unemployment insurance. And they kept on working. You would still see people working in construction. They got up every day. They went to work. We were the ones that were getting the most sick because we were exposed to a lot of to work, while we were out, and then we would come home and we would get our families sick. But we kept on going. We kept on going because it was the only way that we could make a living. We just want an opportunity to make a living and be safe, because some people come here because they're afraid. They're running away from their country because it's a dangerous place. And, we just want an opportunity to make a decent living and be safe.
I work for a nonprofit, and every day we receive calls from people to say, hey, I work with this employee and they don't want to pay me. And they say if I say somebody or if I call the Department of Labor, they call ICE or they call or they deport me.
All the things that he's been saying, my community is so afraid, saying that if Donald Trump wins, they're going to leave the country. They are afraid. They don't want to be here. Even professionals, people, they say, if he wins, I'm leaving. Even in the school, the other kids, like American or other kids, they were making fun of the kids like, oh, the immigration is going to come for your family. So that was not okay.
The thing is that on the Democratic side, right, Kamala Harris and the Democrats, at least rhetorically, are taking a more humane approach. I mean, they're saying more of the right things. But at the policy level, like, they have fully doubled down on the Republicans and, frankly, the far right's framing of the immigration issue and the border security issue. And so that's leaving a lot of people in this country with feeling like they have nowhere to turn. And I got to tell you, Liz, like, a lot of immigrant and mixed status families in this country are extremely anxious right now.
Yeah, it's the same anxiety we share, because for us, it's not a difference between the policy, U.S. policy on Cuba in a Democratic government and in a Republican, because both parties are the same against hardline Cuba policy. How are you feeling ahead of election?
I'm feeling very anxious because everything is up in the air.
Why?
Well, because people are very confused, and I think some people are not liking the choices that they have. And, in the immigrant community, remember, a lot of them cannot vote. So, but they pay taxes. So, for example, somebody with a green card, they're here legally, they pay taxes, they can work, they can go in and out of the country, but they cannot vote. So a lot of decisions are going to be made without them being able to give their input. And my brother always says this is taxation without representation, because we pay taxes and we are not represented.
I'm kind of anxious, but at the same time, I am very hopeful. The candidate that I'm looking for has to look for the benefits that everyone can have, not just the American, not just the African American, not just the immigrant, everyone. I'm looking for equity, and I'm looking to be transparent. We are not looking for someone that they lied and they take advantage of the immigrants.
Do you have that candidate now?
Yes, I do.
Who is?
Kamala. And I just want to say to my community, please don't be afraid. I know if we come out to vote, Kamala is going to win. So please don't be afraid of that.
And, Liz, as you and I have been talking about, and as we've been hearing from folks around Baltimore, I mean, this is not just an election issue, right? This is not just a political debate. I mean, these are human beings with lives, families, communities that we're talking about here. And as the son of a Mexican immigrant, as the foster father of a Honduran immigrant, like, you know, this is personal to me, as it is for so many people. And yet, when we're talking about potentially mass deporting 10 million people, it's like those are just numbers to so many people out there.
Yeah, sadly it is. And for me, it's also personal because when we talk about migration, we can't forget the cost of the migrations. It's not, people are not leaving their own countries, their home country, their family, the culture, because they want to just go and see and live the American life. No, this is because the most of the time they have been forced to it. So being here, be part of this process is an honor, but also a privilege for me, because makes me clear, more clear, that the journalists that we do, the way that we focus the stories that we choose to tell and to visualize is worth it.